Hey all, Pixel here, Improbable Garage. We're back on the Oldsmobile again. Um, so yeah, I want to get some work done on this thing this winter. I finally finished that kitchen project and can get to it. So the big goal, I can't do any painting, obviously, but I want to get the car ready for paint in as many places as possible. The rust on this side has only a few spots left. I have this here, there's a hole there, and there's some other damage up here that's going to require taking this trim off. I suspect I'll find more problems behind the trim. And then there's this mess here that needs to be patched. The inner wheel well, I need to finish once I get this done, because I needed to get this and this done to do all of it, and I need to get some paint in there now that this piece is done. And then I'll be able to seal that up completely and call that done. And then I'm going to have to check. There's what might be rot right there, but I'm going to sort of have to check in here to make sure that this inner panel is all solid. And then that will be the rust done on this side of the car. And then I can flip the whole thing around and start in on the other side. So I'm just going to get into it. I've got to pull the rubber here, and then that will give me access, I think, to this piece of trim, which will give me access to this piece of trim. I think I'm going to have to take this off all the way around. I have the gasket to replace the rear window, so I may pull the rear window. The biggest problem I have is storing it somewhere where it's not going to get damaged. But if there's any rot behind this trim that comes up into this panel, I'm definitely going to pull the window at that point. It's going to need the gasket replaced eventually anyway, just because this trim doesn't stay in anymore. The gasket's so degraded. So I need to get the gasket out to do that, and I'm going to want to paint the roof regardless. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'm going to set you up on time lapse and get moving. All right, finally got the trim off. This wasn't too bad. These are very awkwardly placed, and my hands hurt like hell trying to get in there. The joys of getting old. But anyway, got it off, got access to it. It's worse than I thought, but it's worse than I thought, but better than I feared. It's like so many other things. So I knew about this hole. I knew there was a little bit of a problem here, and now that we've got the trim off, you can see this whole area is rotten. Not surprising. This is again the same problem as everything else. The wheel well throws crap up in here and it just rots out. So I'm gonna have to, like I patched this, I'm gonna have to make another patch that goes here. And then this over here, I think there's two very small pits there, and then there's this problem here. I think I might be able to, if I'm very careful, cut this out. And because it's hidden behind the trim, I can just make something that's got the very, very edge lip of it bent up and fit that in here and weld it in, and that'll be fine. These two I'm probably just going to flat out fill with weld. There's no point in cutting away all this metal for that purpose. And then from the back side, I will get a lot of paint and sealant and whatnot in there to protect that. But this isn't awful. The other side is, oh, wait. What do we got here? I don't like that lump there. Be right back with you. All right, well, should have known better. There was some fiberglass or something there. This is also rotten over here. Not terrible. This is something I can cut out again and just weld a patch in. There's nothing complicated there. It's got a very slight curve this way and a very slight curve that way, but not enough to be a big deal. Now there's no question the glass is coming out. So unfortunately, I think that's going to have to be my next step, is getting the glass out. This seal is almost certainly just, yeah, the seal is, I would rather not trust, I would not try to flex that seal because I'm more afraid of breaking the glass doing that than anything else. And since I have another one, I'm just going to get in here and cut this entire gasket out. I'm going to have to get one of the cutters to do that because I don't have anything good to get in there. I can't, yeah. Some you can just come at like from this direction and cut away enough that the glass, that the glass is no longer restrained by it. But because of how much this overlaps, I can't do that. So I'm going to have to come in with one of the 90-degree ones that can tuck in here and slice the entire outer part of the seal off. Fortunately, the seal's got a little bit of flex in it, so that shouldn't be horrible. I'm not going to be chipping it away, I hope. But it's all I can do for now until I get the glass out. All right, we're back. I got a windshield removal tool. So this is not designed for what I'm doing it for. This is designed for cutting out glass that's urethaned in, but I'm hoping this will work. It's got, like, as you can see, the end's basically a point. So what I'm hoping I can do is get that point down in there and cut the rubber seal this way, which will take off this front edge and allow me to get it out. If that doesn't work, either it won't get in there or it doesn't cut it the way I want it to, I'm going to have to go in the back and cut the seal where it overlaps the body, because I can't cut it where it overlaps the window. Like I described, this is basically, think of it vaguely like an H, with the window in the top of the H and the body in the bottom. So I have to get it free before it'll go anywhere. So I'm going to experiment with this, and if this does seem to be cutting it, I'll use that, and if not, I'll have to get more inventive. And it's free. Whew. That was surprisingly physically intensive. I couldn't get any kind of cutting up at the top here. So what I ended up doing was managing to get the whole bottom cut and then just kind of push the bottom out so that it popped out of the top. It was very nervous making, because when it finally popped loose, it clunked down onto the body on that end with a noise that made me very afraid I had just broken it. But it is out, it's intact. Holy crap, is it thick glass. Never even occurred to me, but yeah, it's some damn thick glass. And the inside of the seal is in great shape, but the outside, not so much. And oh, look at all that. I'm glad I pulled this window after all. For all I didn't want to, ooh, that's ugly. All of the clips that held that bottom trim in place are all just gone. They were being held in by habit more than anything else. So I suspect that there's some rot. Yeah, there's goo in here and stuff that I'm going to have to... Yeah. Yeah, this has been packed with goo over here. But I'm not seeing right... I'm sure there's rust. I am sure that there is rust. But at the moment, I'm not seeing any. Okay, so there's the thing that's supposed to hold... Yeah, okay, so this is supposed to be held on by those two things. I couldn't figure out how that piece of trim came off. And then this has got more... Oh, these clips are better. Those are still there. But, so yeah, this back window is going to... It's good that I took this out, because it turns out there's all kinds of grossness in here. And it means I can fix this. So, yeah, but whew, that was surprisingly difficult. Now, the biggest difficulty of this is I need to get this piece of glass up on top of that door through all of this trash without breaking it. I am bloody terrified, because I want to change the glass out on this for the solar green. I've been keeping an eye out for a car I can get the solar green glass out of, but dear God, do I not want to need to replace the glass. I would rather put the clear glass back in, at least for a while, until I find solar green glass. But if I break this, then I'm on the hunt for a window and I have to find it. So, yeah, I guess I'll set the camera back up, move all this junk off the roof, and give it a shot. So that was terrifying, but not actually bad. The scariest part about it was I was sitting on the roof, and the roof was oil canning from my weight on it. So every time I'd lift the glass and kind of lean up, the roof would go dunk underneath me and made me feel like I was going to tip back or something. So very nervous making, but not terrible. That's relatively safe up there. Seeing this now, I know I have to pull the windshield, which I just don't want to do. But that means I'm going to have to put the windshield up there too. So that's fun. On the plus side, getting the rear seat belts mounted will be easier now because I just go straight down. So that's good. I think I'm going to pull the rest of this seal out, get the rest of this trim off, or most of it anyway, and then run something along here to see. Yeah, this should be dry in here, and this got all kinds of weird goo in it. But see if I can run something through this and just make sure there's no new rot I have to add to the list. Sorry. So that was scary, but not actually difficult. The hardest part was the roof was oil canning when I would put my weight on it, which just made me very unstable and made me that much more nervous I was going to break the glass. But it's up there, it's relatively safe. So what I'm going to do, I think, for today is pull the rest of the seal and trim and see if I can run some kind of wire wheel or something along all of this and see if I can get the worst of this goo out so I can see what's there. I want to make sure there's no new rot surprises I need to add to the list. And then if there isn't, the next time I'm out here, I can start fixing the rot over here. I know this was going to have to happen because it's rotted in the same place on the other side, but worse. So realistically, the glass had to come out, even if this side didn't need it, but I just didn't want to. So I was putting it off. But yeah, all this trim's got to get cleaned up. But yeah, hey, it came out. Nothing got damaged. It came out. Nothing got damaged. And I can do this properly now. So, good. So it turns out this area is pretty much okay. There's some pitting over here that's a little deeper than I'd like, but I'm pretty sure that a good cleanup, derusting, and sealing with some Master Series, and that'll be fine. I'm going to seal all of this with Master Series. Going through, this is all good. This is all, seems good. There's some butyl in here I have to scrape out, but that seems good. But another reason it's good I pulled this, because that definitely would have been actively leaking. So I need to put a patch there. And I haven't done that side yet because I just haven't. I think I'm done for tonight. New rust to fix, progress made. I'm gonna call that a win. All right, another evening of work. This is probably gonna be a short one, but I wanted to get something done. So I think I did it after I shut the camera off yesterday, but I used the torch to get the lead out over here so I could start working on this area, and found a whole bunch more hiding underneath the lead. So that was fun. So this whole area is shot. Turns out this area is shot too. So I'm going to do this as one big patch. No seam. That's just going to be a cleaner repair. I need to put a patch in over here because that's all shot, and then I need to patch here. The more I look at this, the more I think I might try and preserve this edge because this part's not rotted. So if I'm very lucky, I may be able to very carefully cut out a section here and just need to produce a flat piece and not have to rebuild this edge. If I have any problems trying to do it that way, I'll just cut the edge off and do the whole thing. But that's where we are. The next step is going to be the needle scaler. Try and get all the undercoating out from under here so I don't set it on fire while I'm welding. Also doesn't contaminate my welds. And then I'm going to start making patches. There is rot up in this structure up here that I may or may not be able to address, but I'm just going to get into it. All right, I think I'm done for tonight. I'm very happy. So I cut out this. I ended up not going all the way down over here because there's like 3 or 4 layers here and it just wasn't working well to cut. So I figured if it's that strong, it can stay. I ended up cutting out a section here like I knew I was gonna. And then this ended up being very perforated over here. So I just ended up cutting out a square. You can barely, it's hard to see because I actually did a pretty good job. I'm not done, obviously. I've got to come in with a small grinder to get these in the corner and then fill in a couple more spots. But I'm going to do that later. Those don't have to be super, super perfect because they're going to be hidden behind the trim. But I want to get them as good as possible. But yeah, so there's an L-shaped patch, you know, that went in here to give me the backing for the piece that's going to go on here. And then a square one over here. I'm really glad of how they came out. It's far from perfect, as always. I'm not perfect, so it's going to need some filler. But it's pretty darn close. And it's nice and solid, so I'm happy with that. Tried to save more of this, but you can see it was blowing through, so when I do this section, I'm going to be coming basically back up to my patch over here. I don't know if I'm going to come all the way over. That I'm not going to worry about right now, but I do have to, this upper part's going to have to come all the way back to the patch. But what this means is I can now put a patch in back here that is backed all the way along this edge. So I don't have to get that weld perfect all the way along here because there's metal behind it. Like I'm not trying to weld edge to edge. I was doing that over here, but trying to do that over here where I'm trying to put a much bigger piece in was going to be hard. So this is going to make my life easier. I'm really glad of that. That's looks good. It's nice and solid. It's good progress for an evening. So yes. So as you can see by what I was wearing in that other footage, it was filmed about 6 months ago. So it's been embarrassingly long since I got back on this. What can I say? ADHD's a bastard and the rust repair on this is no fun, so I keep doing the other more interesting projects. So since I filmed that, the only thing I've done is put this brace in here and slopped Master Series rust paint on everything in there and in this area over here. So next step, cut out this rotten area here and then fix that and plate that, and that'll fix this, and I can move on to that. All right, and that's what I ended up with. It's all right. Fitting the piece was a pain in the ass, and then trying to get it to weld right was also a pain in the ass. So it's got some significant warpage in here, but I think I can work with it. And anyway, there's not a hole there anymore. The back piece back here was starting to blow through. I'm not going to try and weld it all the way across the back because there's a plate going across the top of this anyway that's going to weld to this. So there's just kind of no point. I put way more heat into this than I wanted to just because of the way the welds were going. As you can see all the discoloration, which put more warp into it. But I managed to preserve this edge, more or less. There's one spot that blew through, but it meant I didn't have to build that curve right there, which thank God. So now I'm going to go get dinner, and then the next thing is make this plate here and then seal off this whole area. All right, done. So this is all welded in. This is all welded in. Reasonably happy with it. It's going to need filler just like everything else I do, but I'm pretty happy with that. Can't get in here super well. I haven't quite figured out how to solve that problem. There's a piece of trim that goes across here, so it doesn't have to be perfect in there, but I need to get, like, this is pretty much, this is actually a little down because there's actually a ridge here and a ridge here where I've gone too far into the metal. So that's probably fine, but over here I still need to do a little bit of cleanup. This is clearly the right tool, but the wrong end. I've got flap discs, or I had flap discs that fit on that I think would be perfect for this, but I'm out of them. So that's going to be, I'm going to finish that up another time. But hey, look, no hole. This patch could have come out better. It really could have. but you saw me struggling to fit it in the first place. So there was only so much I was ever going to accomplish there, because trying to fit it in here when I couldn't support it from the other side or get at it in a good way from the underside, because I can reach there, but it's full arm's reach up in there. So I will take the win of it being closed up over future perfect patch that I'm never going to get around to. So now this is the next thing I need to work on, but I need to clear all this trash before I can. All right, this is the last piece of rust on this side of the car. So got it's kind of two problems. There's the rot down in here, and then there's the rot up here. This, I'm thinking I can form something on the shrinker stretcher, maybe. My biggest concern is this is not a tight 90 degree here, so I'm not sure if I can bend something over with a bit of a radius and still use the shrinker stretcher to make a piece that goes in there. But if I can make that piece come up to this edge, I can make this piece come into it as a separate one. There is a lead seam over here that I've gotten some of the lead out, but I haven't gone in obsessively and gotten everything out of that one yet. I'm hoping I don't have to worry about the lead seam up here. I want to leave that if I can and just work in this area and over here. But I gotta properly seal this up, because this is just a hole into the trunk. There's inner structure that's already got, like, this is already rusted through a couple layers there. So I got to close that back up. I think I'm going to start by seeing if I can make myself a patch for here. Like, test the theory and then go forward from there. Alright, so I've been futzing around trying to make something that might work here. And I'm realizing there's multiple problems, which is that this has a curve up to it, this has a curve this way, but it's also curved this way. Like, there's multiple things going on, and then this is one panel, this is another panel. So there's no, like, I can't make a single easy patch that's going to just go in here like this. I need to make a patch that's mostly vertical with a little bit of a kick out to catch this damaged area here, or that damaged area has to be done separately. Same with like how this has to be done separately. This is going to be an absolute bear. I really wish I could just come in here and weld up the worst of these pins. Like, if I could weld all this up and not have to replace this panel, that would be amazing. But I'm pretty sure that this is just shot back here. So I doubt if I started trying to weld these up, I'd probably just blow through this whole thing. I also need to get some thinner metal to be able to form it in here a little bit cleaner, because what I have is thicker than what the body's made out of, so I'm fighting that. I was experimenting quickly with something and then ended up doing all of it without filming, which is I decided to try the holes up here, just welding them instead of cutting and fitting a patch. So this was a lot of stacking welds. I burned through, you know, the holes became bigger and burned through until I hit solid metal, but I was able to fill them all with weld. So with a little bit of luck, I can just grind this all back and the top of this will be done, and I won't have to try and fit a patch in, which just leaves me in there. That is so much simpler. I'm looking, I can't tell. Oh good, those are just black marks. Thank God. For a second I thought there were more holes there. But yeah, so that just makes my life easier. Because if that didn't work, if this just blew out, what I was going to try and do was salvage this curve here, like cut a piece behind it, just to keep that arc, because my biggest fear was trying to match the shape. But this should make that easier. Because in here, this isn't going to be quite as difficult to make now that I don't have to worry about the top anymore. All right, I've been poking at this thing. I haven't fabricated anything, but turns out the entire space behind it, all in here, was filled with this putty stuff. It looks familiar, but I can't place it. It's not seam seal or anything like that because it hasn't set up. But it was packed full of that. I don't know if that's factory or if that was something that was done as a repair at some point. The other issue is, and I've gotten as much as I can out, I've tried a couple different methods. This was all leaded all across here, and then there was leading down through here. You can see I tried to weld up a hole there and got that weird splash hole thing. So yeah, I'm gonna figure this out, but it's gonna be a pain in the butt because the curve is all weird in here. There's two or three layers for this that I can't separate effectively. So I'm gonna have to weld on top of, I'm gonna have to cut the topmost layer away and weld that. Similarly over here, if I could weld these holes at the top and not have to fit a patch right up against this, I would like to, but judging by the number of holes, I'm pretty sure this is just all Swiss cheese in here. There's also a little hole there, which tells me that who knows how much of this is actually structural at this point. All right, so I've decided I'm gonna have to do some of this piecemeal. This area here was relatively square, so I've made a little patch to go in there. I'm still fine-tuning it, but it's gonna look like, it looks like it's gonna fit pretty good. I gotta fine-tune the bottom so it'll come up a little bit so that there won't be as much of a little dip down there. But I'm pretty happy with that. This end's going to be, where my thumb is going to be a complete pain in the butt because there's still brass solder there. So it's going to weld like absolute shit, but nothing I can do about it because, like I said, I tried to get it out and it wasn't coming. I used a torch, I used wire brushes on the various tools and whatnot, and that's the best I could get it. So that's what it is. That patch is welded in. There was a hole up here that I tried to weld, and you can see I kind of chased it down. And then I've put this patch in here. I decided there's no way I was going to get this curve to fit properly. So what I'm doing is I put a more or less vertical patch in here, and then the patch that's going to go to fill that part is going to curve up slightly to meet this. And then I'll weld that, and that'll get me my curve in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. The plan with this is going to get epoxy primed with the rest of the car, and then fiberglass body filler in here to get it smooth so that there's no place for the water to puddle. And that stuff is waterproof, and then, you know, more primer and paint over that. So this should be a safe thing to avoid that, you know, so I won't have to worry about water in here anymore. But I'm happy with how this is coming out. This I have been dreading this so much, and it's not as bad as I thought. I welded across the top here, and you see I've ground a little of it away. The rest of this in here, I'm going to have to get in here like a burr bit or something to do the grinding, I think, because I can't get any of my grinders in here. And if this ends up kind of rough, that's okay, because again, this is all getting smoothed out later. My curve over here is a little bit rough from the welds I had to add, but it's close enough that, let's see. You know, I'm still close enough here that I'll be able to fiddle with it and get it right. I'm going to keep trucking along, get that last patch in here so I can check the welding part of this off. Alrighty, it's filled in. Obviously needs grinding, but yeah, I got my last patch in there. It ended up being sort of leaf shaped, including having a curve to it to fit in there. It would have fit better and had less of a rise over on this end, but just as I started welding it, I ran out of welding gas. So that end, the weld splattered really bad and actually lifted the metal. And I noticed the splatter, but not the lift until it was too late because I'd welded too much else. So most of that I can fix when I grind it back because it didn't lift it that much. A lot of this is just weld and is still warm. I should not do that. But yeah, this is all filled in. That's all filled in. Massive, massive progress. So that's all the rust fixed on the left side of this car. So the only part I have left now is I did partially fill in here, but I have to finish up there. That all needs to be sealed up so that there's not going to be water and crap getting in there. And once all that's done, I can move on to somewhere else on the car. So I think that's going to be it for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will talk to you later. mess. This opening is a different diameter than Rust-Oleum uses, apparently. So about 75% of the paint went into this, and the rest of it went everywhere, including all over my hands. You can see even after cleaning them how bad they are. But I did get, you know, in here pretty good coat. I'm going to go in, you know, and do some more, but this definitely got more paint in there consistently than I could otherwise. Also, the parts that you can see more easily are the parts I was less concerned about getting paint on, because I can obviously paint those. But it, like in this section, I went over it multiple times, so that should have a good coat of it in there. I cleaned this out, by the way. This stuff, high power spray gun cleaner. I love this for cleaning my HVLP guns. It's so much easier than trying to do it with something else. This will get 99.9% of the stuff out without any scrubbing. I love it. Anyway, that one's empty. So yeah, this is going to dry now. Tomorrow or whatever, whenever my hand feels like it can handle it, I'm going to come out and peel all that tape off and paint one side of it, let it dry, roll it over, paint the other side of it, you know, do a couple coats that way. Yeah. But I'm not going to show you just that, because I'll show it to you at the beginning of the next one when I'm finally working on this stuff again. So I think that's going to be it for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye.